What's going on, everybody? Dots Gaming here, and today I'm bringing you all an update on my add-ons and user interface for World of Warcraft for the Shadowlands pre-patch and Shadowlands as well. The last UI guide that I put out was for BFA 8.3, which was the UI I was using right when I came back to the game. But now, now that a couple months have passed that I've been back from WoW, and I've kind of, made a couple of additions, made a couple of small changes. So my UI has changed ever so slightly, but not really a whole lot. So if you guys did like the last iteration of my UI, I mean, as you can tell, it looks pretty much the same, just a couple of minor changes. But I always like to keep my add-on and user interface guides up to date when I do play an MMO, because it typically is the thing I get asked about the most. So I wanted to just bring you guys an update for the Shadowlands pre-patch and for Shadowlands. Now, one thing I know I'm probably going to get asked about quite a bit on this video is, what do you plan on doing with your add-on installations once Twitch no longer actually handles the mods? And truthfully, I don't know quite yet. I'm hoping to use some sort of open source or, viewer made thing, or maybe even possibly Minion for my add-ons. I really don't want to install Overwolf just due to their past issues and past problems. Don't really want to do that, but currently at the moment I'm still slightly undecided on how I'm going to manage my add-ons moving forward. But for now, I am still using Twitch. But regardless, let's just actually get into the add-ons and the user interface itself. So the first add-on that I am now using is a little bit different from last time, is Auctionator. Now, Auctionator is a pretty lightweight auction house add-on. It doesn't do a crap load. It just makes it a little bit easier to buy and sell things. It makes it easier to undercut auctions if you have been it makes it easier to cancel undercut auctions if somebody did undercut you. It makes it easy to mass cancel auctions, which is really, really helpful. It scans to check if you were undercut or not, so you can always be making sure that you're listing things at a competitive price. But it also, adds little tooltip values to your items to tell you how much you could auction something for. Really helpful for me if I'm on my druid going and farming materials and I want to see which ones are going to sell for the most. I can really kind of focus my efforts on farming those materials. Again, if you're super, super big into gold making, trade skill master will probably be a little bit better for you. But if you're like me and you just kind of do it casually to be able to buy certain mounts and just keep your character up to date, then it's something like Auctionator will pretty much do what you need it to. It's really lightweight, doesn't take up a lot of resources on your computer, and gives you enough functionality out of the auction house in addition to the base functionality. I am also using Bagnon. Bagnon is what gives my bag the one singular window look instead of the multiple bag setup. I honestly cannot stand the base game bag setup. It bothers me so much. So I always need to run this add-on. It basically just puts all your stuff into one bag, but you could also see, your bags across other characters, see what they have going on. You can check your bank and stuff. It just really, you got a search thing here. It just adds a lot of functionality to your bags, and I really, really like the add-on, and I've been using it for literally years. We also do have BigDebuffs. Now, BigDebuffs will basically put on your user on your nameplate, as well as your your unit frame, as well as your enemy frames and your focus frames, when they have certain effects on them. So it'll change from being the picture of the troll to, let's say, a picture of kidney shot if I get kidney shotted by a rogue, or it'll turn to a picture of survival instincts if I pop survival instincts. It basically just kind of helps you keep track of your opponent's really big and important buffs, debuffs, whether or not they're CC'd or not, when they are in those states, and it shows it right on the unit frame itself. And you can actually go into the add-on settings and kind of prioritize. Do I want CCs to take priority? Do I want defensive skills to take priority? Offensive skills? It's just a really good add-on that I think adds honestly a fair bit of information, with just a tiny bit of space. It doesn't take up any additional space on your UI, just changes the actual picture on the unit frame, and I think it gives a lot of information for the amount of space that it takes up. We also do have Details. Details is the gold standard damage dealing add-on nowadays. It keeps track of deaths, damage dealing, healing, stuff about raids. It is just the gold standard DPS meter. In the past, I used to use Recount, SCADA. I used all these different things when I came back to, when I played WoW over the years. SCADA was my longest used damage meter. But nowadays, Details is the gold standard. It does give a lot of information, and so I highly, highly recommend using it. The next add-on that we have after Details has a lot, as you can see, is we have Easy Frames. Easy Frames are what give my my unit frames the appearance that they have. This has become one of my favorite add-ons since discovering it. I absolutely love the appearance of the unit frames, you know, giving your health bar, making it take up all of this room, it being the color of your class, just the whole way that the user, you know, the frame looks, I really, really like. It's got a nice bit of customizations in it, so you can move, you know, things around, resources, pet frames. You can just change a lot about it. You can do the sizing. It's just a really, really fantastic user, you know, user frame add-on, and I really, really enjoy it. My next add-on after Easy Frames is GatherMate 2. GatherMate 2 is something that I installed relatively recently, once I started farming on my Druid a lot more, and it basically puts down a little marker somewhere on the map whenever you mine or herb, so that you know next time you go back to a place, okay, this is the route that I took, this is where I looted things last time, so that you can just easily follow your past looting path, you know, and just follow that around, and you'll be able to farm things more quickly and more efficiently. So really, really helpful if you do gather on your character. And since this guy is a druid, he is my gatherer. I also now have GladiusEx as my PvP add-on, and I'm no longer using regular Gladius. Now, the reason I like GladiusEx is because right now I'm actually not using Omni Cd, or I think OmniBar rather. I'm not using OmniBar for my Feral Druid. And some people might be like, oh my God, you're not using OmniBar. How are you not using OmniBar? I'll use typically OmniBar on my casters to really keep track of kicks, so I know, you know, whether or not they have a kick or not, because that's really, really important. I like that to display nice and big at the bottom here. But the good thing about GladiusEx is that GladiusEx puts a lot of the cooldowns that you would want to even keep track of in the first place right on the arena frame. So it's really, really nice to have it right here. I don't need to run a separate add-on. It's just a part of my PvP frame add-on. So it just makes it easier to track DRs, trinkets, skills, their health, mana, their casting, their trinket. All of the things that I would need to track are, you know, right here on this singular add-on. And so I you know, basically am using it to do all of those things. So really, really like GladiusEx. The next add-on that we have is HandyNotes. HandyNotes just adds handy notes on your maps for treasure chests and other things that you might need to know about. I just find it to be a very helpful add-on to add some extra icons to my map. Typically, HandyNotes will also have plugins for whatever expansion that you are playing in that you might need to loot stuff for. For example, in Battle for Azeroth, you needed to know where a bunch of rare spawns were for some of the quests that you needed to do, and so it would put those on your map. So HandyNotes is a really good add-on to have for, you know, again, adding extra icons to your map and adding handy notes. But also, if you're, whatever expansion you're in, if it requires, you know, some certain icons on your map for you to go to certain places and do certain things, you can just install additional plugins for it, and then it will add those right to your map. The next thing that I am using for my nameplates, I am using KuiNameplates. Nameplates. That is what gives my nameplates the appearance that they have. I absolutely love these nameplates. I used to use, back in the day, if any of you guys have been around for a long time, I used to use Tidy Plates, and when Tidy Plates kind of went fully out of date, I was really, really sad about it. But ever since then, I kind of found KUI to be my replacement, and they are fantastic. They obviously display, you know, the health bar as you would want it. It displays auras for your dots and other debuffs on your enemy. It can also place their buffs above their head. Typically, I'll have it do dispellable buffs, so I know if something pops up there, that is something that I can dispel, because in terms of keeping track of their big, you know, buffs, I will use BigDebuffs to keep track of that. Another cool thing about the add-on too that I like is that if you do successfully kick somebody, it will put next to their unit frame that they were kicked by, if you know, here on my Feral Druid with my Skull Bash, and it will show the duration of the kick on their unit frame, or excuse me, their nameplate. And so it's just a really, really good nameplate add-on. Gives me all the functionality I could possibly want. I also do tank on this druid as well. I do play Guardian for PvE, and it does have like threat plate plugins for it. So the second you switch to Guardian, it will activate that plugin. If you're not in a tank spec, it will not do it. But if you are in a tank spec, it will switch to kind of like the threat plate version. So it makes it really easy to track whether or not you have threat on your enemies or not. So very, very, very helpful add-on. Besides KUI, I do have Lordy UI. Lordy UI is what gives my user interface the Black Knight mode, dark looking appearance. I really, in every game I play, every MMO I play, if I can install some sort of night mode version of my UI, I do it. And so that's what Lordy UI does. Now, I do want to address something that I did get asked about in the last video. People panicked and were like, oh man, I'm missing a bunch of buttons up here. What do I do? How do I see this stuff, right? So if you want to bring up the calendar, you right click the map. You just right click the map and bam, it pops up. If you want to adjust your NPCs, what NPCs you can see, press your middle mouse button and it will bring that up. So that was something that I had a lot of people like asking me about last time. They're like, oh my God, where are these things? And obviously if you want to zoom in and out, you just use your scroll wheel. But I had a lot of people asking me about that last time where they're like, oh my God, all these icons went missing. The UI is bugged, but just for whatever reason, a feature of the UI, the guy who created it decided, we take these icons off the mini map and apply it to hotkeys instead. So just kind of wanted to go over that just so that you guys did know if that popped up and you were like, oh no, what's going on? That is what it is. I do use OmniBar, like I said, for whenever I play a caster. This is like a gold standard add-on that people will use to track enemy cooldowns. You can use it to track basically anything that you want. Like I said, me personally, on my melee characters, I just use GladiusEx to take care of it. But on my casters, I will also use OmniBar in addition to it, just because it makes I can make the icons a lot bigger. And so I'm really able to keep an eye on those kicks to know whether or not I am at risk of being kicked or not. The next thing that I have is OmniCD. Now, what OmniCD will do is when I am in a party, if I'm in an instance of some sorts, it will basically display cooldowns of my party members right on their unit frame. So I know if somebody's got offensive cooldowns, defensive cooldowns, certain CCs, keep track of basically anything. But OmniCD basically attaches it right to their party plate, which is really, really cool. The next add-on that I use is Postal. Just gives me some enhanced mailbox features. But the big thing that I use it for is for mass opening mail. That's like a button that just has open all. And so what you're able to do with it is, let's say you sell a bunch of stuff on the auction house and you get all the money in, instead of having to manually click each individual thing and then clicking the gold and deleting the message, you just click open all and it just completely takes care of everything. So it's really, really helpful for that type of stuff. The next add-on that I have is Raider IO. Raider IO keeps track of people's Raider IO score for Mythic Plus and rating. This is a metric that a lot of people use to track how good somebody is in the context of Mythic Plus and rating. It's just, typically it is a metric that a lot of people use. It's become one of the gold standards for especially Mythic Plus, and so it is definitely something that I recommend installing so that you can check somebody's Raider IO score right on their nameplate, application, whatever, instead of having to go to their website, search the name, actually check the score. It just makes it a little bit quicker to actually check those things. The next add-on that I have, another new one, is we have TomTom. Now, TomTom is a navigational add-on. It basically is like a GPS add-on. What you can do is if you're, let's say, you want to farm a certain mob or get a certain mob, right? And it's got the coordinates. You can use TomTom to enter those coordinates, and it'll bring up an arrow that shows you what direction that is in, how close you are to it, how far you are to it. When you die, it just gives you an arrow to show you to where your corpse is. It just is a really good add-on so that if you want to track and mark certain places and someone gives you coordinates for where to go, you can just enter it into TomTom and bam, you're good to go. The next add-on that I use is TrufiGCD. This is an add-on that I use specifically for stream, and I like having it on my YouTube videos too, just because a lot of people wanted to see the queue of my spells and what order I was clicking my globals in, and so I just have TrufiGCD installed to showcase those things. The next add-on that I have is WeakAuras. WeakAuras is a super powerful add-on that can do a ton of stuff. Typically what I use it for is to give indicators for spells that no longer have them. Like, for example, for whatever reason, I believe it is Predatory Swiftness, no longer, as far as I was able to tell when I came back to WoW, has no more tell on your character if you were to have it. So I basically created a weak aura that brought that tell back. So when I rip, you can see right above my head, that little thing that I have, that little orange like arch, now says, hey, you have a Predatory Swiftness proc. And then when I use it, it goes away. And when I didn't have WeakAuras installed, it didn't have that. And it was something that used to be in the game that I missed. So I used a WeakAura to bring it back. Also at the bottom, I made a WeakAura to keep track of my Tiger's Fury buff. The reason that's important is because as a Feral Druid, you like to snapshot your bleeds, which means that whenever you have the most amount of power and damage going out, whenever you use that on your bleeds and dots will maintain that level of power for the entire duration, even if those buffs do drop off of you until you refresh, and then it will take a picture of what your stats were at that given time. And so keeping track of Tiger's Fury for me is extremely important because it allows me to maximize my damage potential. When I play Guardian, I basically turn that WeakAura into an Iron Fur WeakAura so that I know how many stacks of Iron Fur I have on my character, how long Iron Fur is going to last, and it just makes it a lot easier for me to keep track of certain things. The final add-on that I have, which everyone should install if you play any PvE content at all, is Deadly Boss Mods. Deadly Boss Mods basically will give you sounds and visual cues and indicators and all these things that have to do with dungeon and raid encounters. Even if you do just basic LFR, having DBM installed on your in your game is just extremely helpful. It's really, really good. If you don't like how much DBM tells you, you can always feel free to turn some things off, or there's another add-on, I believe it's called Bigwigs. That's something that a lot of other people like. That tends to be a little bit more subdued than DBM. But you could also, if you want to, for dungeons as well, you can install Little Wigs. But DBM does it all. You know, it can be, I think, a little bit much in dungeons, but in raids, all of like the super, like honestly, sometimes the queues and the countdowns and all the features that it has, like it really, really has like brings its weight in gold when it comes to raids. So I do highly, highly recommend it. So that is what I'm looking like in terms of my add-ons list. I don't think I missed anything. I think I pretty much covered it all. So in terms of our actual interface, though, we'll start with the game. In terms of controls, I have auto loot on. I don't want to manually click things, so I do auto loot on, interact on, left click off. For combat, I do show target of target, loss of control effects, auto self cast whenever I can. Display, I pretty much, I think, left as default. Social, I turn off the mature language filter. I do IM style chats. I do chat timestamps. Here's a new one that some people might be wondering about. Thanks to someone on my stream for helping me with this. They basically made a new chat feature where every single time you get a chat from someone, like a whisper, it'll put it in a new window. And it was tilting the crap out of me because I wanted it in my regular general chat window. And so whenever you get, if you go to this feature, change new whispers to inline, and it will put it right in your chat window, your normal general chat window. In terms of action bars, I will do bottom left, bottom right, right bar 2, lock them, always show action bars and show number for cooldowns. And then I do, if I want to move skills around, I will hold shift to move them around. For names, I don't like to show my name. I know some people do. I personally do not. I do show friendly players and minions, enemy players and minions. And then for nameplates, I do always show nameplates, enemy units, all of them. And I don't like to show friendly nameplates. I don't like that. And then I do flash on aggro loss. And then I personally do overlapping nameplates. Camera, I do not believe I touched. Neither did I touch mouse or accessibility. And then for raid profiles, unfortunately, these auto-activate profiles do not work. They used to back in the day, but like they don't anymore. And what sucks is that I had a script that I found and I like modified it and it made these actually work. But that script went out of date when the pre-patch came out, so I am really sad. So if anybody knows an add-on or a script that can help make this work again, feel free to let me know in the comments. But what I'll typically do for my raid profiles is I'll do display incoming heals, power bars, aggro highlight, class colors, and show debuffs. I'll show health percentage, and then I'll do about frame width and height about 50% each. In terms of our add-ons, Auctionator wise, I pretty much didn't change a whole lot. I kind of left it. The only thing that I did was I changed run auto scan when auction house is open. I turned that off. It was really annoying having it scan every single time I open the auction house. I want to run scans whenever I want to run them. So I just have it turned on for that. I think otherwise, I pretty much just kind of left it the way it was. Didn't really feel the need to kind of adjust anything or mess with anything. And so I just left it that way. Bagnon, I did not change anything. BigDebuffs, I don't think I changed much either. What I can show you guys is what my priorities are. I have immunities at 80, spell immunities at 70, crowd control 60, interrupts at 55, defensive buffs at 50, offensive buffs at 40, other buffs at 30, and roots at 20. I believe this is the default. I might have changed something. I don't think I did. But this is what I have them at for the current moment in time. In terms of details, I'll kind of leave it to you guys to really set things up. When you first install details, you'll basically kind of be given a wizard to allow you to kind of set it up however you want it to be set up. You guys kind of go through it and you can, answer a bunch of questions and it'll tell you, okay, you want this, do you want that? And you'll be able to basically customize it and change things for your needs. The one thing that I did add and turn on additionally was in bars under general. I did always show me, just because I always kind of want to know my place in the damage meter, whether or not I'm playing DPS or tank, just to kind of see how I'm doing. And so what it will do is it'll show my top 4 here, and then in the 5th spot it'll show me always. And then it'll just show what rank I am, whether or not it's, 15, 14, 10, whatever. It'll always kind of show me there, which is why I have that checked. But otherwise, I would say just follow the wizard, set it up however you want. And you'll pretty much be able to kind of customize that to your own needs and desires. In terms of easy frames, I do have class card with health bars turned on. Everything else up here is pretty much turned off. I turn on custom buff size I have off. Highlight spellable debuffs I do have checked. Actually, this is good. Only if player can dispel. I wish I had that turned on the whole time. Show my debuffs I have turned off. Show welcome message on. Whatever. That's not a big deal. For the player, I have the player frame scale at 1.1 with the default portrait. It's originally going to be the class picture. I don't like that. I like to show the default, so I do that. I do current max %, outline Frizz Quattro TT with font size 10, smart player mana bar, outline Frizz Quattro TT again with 10 font size, show player name checked, show player name inside the frame I have turned off. I like to have it above. This again, same Frizz Quattro 10. Player name color I just have to the default. The rest of this, again, you can take a look, but I'm pretty sure this was all default and unchanged. For the target, I did a lot of the same. 1.1 default portrait, current max %. As you can tell, everything else is relatively the same as it was to the other one, but I just did it for the target as well. Same thing for the focus. 1.1 default, current max %. Again, I'll just kind of let it sit here so that you guys can see, but it's all pretty much the same. The pet. What I did was I actually unlocked the pet frame and moved the pet frame to where I wanted to, because on certain classes where you have like the special resources underneath your main resource bar, the pet frame was clipping those, and so it kind of was annoying me. And so what I did was I unlocked the pet frame, moved it down a little bit, and then locked the pet frame. But if you ended up deciding like, hey, I don't like where this is, you could always just reset it to the default and it'll put it right back. But otherwise, I just left everything default. Did not really change anything else. Gathermate 2 changed nothing. GladiusEx. So for GladiusEx, if you ever do want to test your GladiusEx just to kind of see what it looks like, you just go to testing and you can click test, and it'll bring it up so you can take a look. I do obviously locked frames, show arena frames, and then I do for general I have group unit frames up and down, margin 2, group padding 5. You guys can take a look at all of these other settings if you want to copy mine exactly the way they are. I do believe most of them are pretty much at their default. I didn't really change a whole lot. I kind of just like moved them around a little bit. So I don't really think there's much to change here. I think the only thing I do want to show you guys is for the cooldowns. This is what my cooldown sizes look like. If you do ever want to edit and change the cooldowns, you can go here and you can change the list of cooldowns. If there's something specific you want to track, you could absolutely come in here and track it so you know what skills they might have, which is a really, really, really good feature. So if let's say you're playing against a certain class and there's a skill that the GladiusEx is not tracking that you want to track, just do it right in here and you'll be good to go. HandyNotes, I changed nothing. KUI, I think is typically where I have my most changes. I haven't changed this in a while, so I don't remember exactly what's default and what is kind of built in, so I'm just going to go through everything here. This is what the base screen looks like for general. For fade rules, I have non-target alpha as 0.6, conditional alpha as 0.3, with animation speed at 0.3, in-name only, and with raid icon. Everything else is turned off. For my health bars, I do KUI status bar with cutaway bar animation, show absorbs, and striped absorb texture. Show execute range, auto detect range. I usually will have it at 20%, but it can auto detect for your class. Colors I did not change. Class color hostile players is what I have on, so it'll show again the hostile players. It'll show their class color, and then I also will class color myself. Cast bars, I have it all right here. If you want to take a look at how that looks, I'll just let that sit for a second. And then for text, I do Rebutto, condensed bold, font style outline, 11 normal font, 10 small font. Name v offset is -0.2. This, I guess, was unchanged. Show name text checked. Hide non-tracked names checked. These two were off. White names on health bar checked, and class colored friendly names checked. Name only, this is what I have if you do want to go and take a look at it. For the frame size, this is one thing I know I did change a lot. Frame width 128, frame height 15, personal frame width 128, personal frame height 15, minus frame width 80, and minus frame height 12. Power bar height 3, frame glow size 8 with a global scale of 1. For my auras, I do show auras, I do show purge, I do show on personal frame, I sort by time remaining, I do have them pulsate with center align, side on top, vertical offset is 15, icon size normal is 25, icon size minus is 18, icon squareness is 0.7, with icon size purge is 32. For the bottom, you can take a look at any offsets for text on the timer if you guys do want to copy those exactly. For threat, I do enable tank mode when there is a tank spec available, and I do have threat glow. Typically I'll do tank mode colors. I'll do green is tanking, yellow is in a transition, and purple is the off tank. And so you can take a look at those if you want to. For class powers, do show class resource, show on target, icon size 12. Boss mods, I just have it like this. I don't really think I changed this, and then I don't think I even changed C-bars. I don't even know what that is. Lordy UI, I have literally everything turned on. So you can go ahead and check all three of those. Omni Cd, for when I do use it, I have it up here. Oh, that's Omni Cd. Excuse me, I was thinking of OmniBar. Omni Cd, you can see up here, that's what it would look like when I am in a party. And if you want to, you can do show trinket. If you want to show trinket only, I do that in battlegrounds. Position I have on the right, display inactive icons, no offset. Columns is 6. Vertical groups. Do the same thing across all of them. Let me see. Icons. I do icon size 80%. Charge size 110%. Padding is X and Y are both 2. Counter size 85%. Swipe opacity is 0.8. These are 1 at the bottom. Border enable pixel perfect. Show forbearance CD. Highlights enable defensive immunity. Enable visibility. I do have an arena and dungeons. Priority, this is what the priority is. I'm 98% sure this is default. If you want to take a quick look though, that is what I have. You want to just pause it. And then spells, you can go through and just check what spells you personally want to go ahead and keep track of, or what other, trinkets and other things you want to, racial passives and whatnot that you want to kind of keep track of and take a look at. Raider IO did not do a thing. TomTom, I believe all I did, ask for confirmation and remove all save new waypoints until I remove them. I don't think I changed anything else. I think maybe the only thing that I did was I moved the waypoint arrow. So when the waypoint arrow comes up out of default, you can just click it and move it wherever you want. This is what my arrow display looks like. If you want to see the information for that at the bottom, you could take a look and duplicate it if you'd like to. Otherwise, I don't really think I changed a whole lot on this. Pretty sure I just kind of left it default. And then TrufiGCD, this is the way I have mine set up. If you want to just take a look at my settings, I have it only really enabled when I'm in a party, raid, arena, or battleground. Only show it for myself. Don't really care about showing it for anybody else because it's just to show my globals on streaming and videos. Number of icons 3, and I do scrolling icons, and they scroll off to the left, and I usually will position it right here above my damage meter. In terms of other add-ons, I think that pretty much covered all of it. I don't think there's anything else that I'm missing. DBM, I really didn't change anything. I maybe just moved some stuff around to other positions that I'd wanted to, but again, I'll kind of leave that up to you to position those things where you want to when you actually get into a raid encounter. But I'm pretty sure that's it for me, guys. I think that is everything. if you guys do like my current UI, my updated UI, I'd appreciate if you left a like on the video. If you have any questions about the add-ons or anything that I am doing or why I'm doing it that way, you can feel free to leave a comment below. And of course, subscribe to keep up to date with all of the World of Warcraft content I am putting out here on my YouTube channel. I do really like a very simplistic UI. I like to keep it nice and plain, straightforward, just so I can see all of my information, and that is how I have my UI set up, as you can see. One more thing for TomTom is I did move my current coordinates up here to the top left, so you can do that as well if you want to. But yeah, I like to keep everything down, out of the way, so that I can see exactly where my targets are and everything. If you want to take a look at that's where I have my focus and target as well. Typically, the reason I do it that way, I actually just want to mention this right before I go, because I realized I just didn't cover that, is so that whenever I do play an arena, everything's nice and lined up. I have my character and my target right in the center, the arena stuff on the left. I have my frames and my focus and target and stuff on, or this is on the right, excuse me. This stuff's on the left, so that I can just focus to everything in the middle. I find it to be a really, really easy way to kind of see everything on the battlefield for me. But yeah, guys, that's all I got for you today. Again, I hope this add-on guide helped. Hope you all enjoy the updated UI. Any questions, like I said, feel free to leave them below. So thank you all so much for stopping by. Give me a bit of your time today. Very much appreciate it. As always, I'm Dots Gaming, and I'll see you all in the next one.